When Dr. Bhandari asked me to be the keynote speaker here, I really didn't know what I was meant to speak about, And ever since he asked me, I've been somehow running a hectic schedule. So I sat up last night, today morning, and thought on my own career and what I have learned from it and how can we make the most of a surgical career. I thought that would be something which everyone here would be interested, and that is why this particular topic. Now, this is the human life cycle. This is also the professional life cycle. You start, you grow, then you come to a plateau, then you start declining, and then finally it's the end, retirement or death, whatever it is. So this life cycle, the curve need not be similar for everyone. One can grow very fast. One can remain on the plateau for very long. One can decline very fast, and one can finish very fast, So, but this is the general life cycle which everyone has. When we talk of a surgical career, there are 3 phases in the life of a surgeon. So, early surgical career, which I think most of you here are, and early surgical career is from not 25, maybe by the time you are a registrar or a house surgeon, to about 40 years of age till you have mastered the art of surgery, more or less. We always keep on learning. But till you have conventionally mastered the art of surgery is the early surgical career. And that is the time meant for laying strong foundations. I'll come to that. Then you have a mid-surgical career, where you have laid strong foundations and now you build the superstructure on the foundation, building on the foundation. So this is 40 to 60 years of age. And then the late surgical career, which may involve change of roles and responsibilities. So 60 years to formal retirement or death, what we were discussing just now. So early surgical career, since you are in the early surgical phase, well, I call it laying the foundation. Laying the foundation is very, very important because that is what will serve you for the future. The stronger the foundation, the taller will be the superstructure. The deeper your roots go, the better will be the height of the tree, or better will be the growth. Now, I heard that it was mentioned that surgery is a tough mistress to have. Well, because you have to learn. And if you really want to excel, you have to keep learning. It's not the end of it that you learned, got your MS degree or MCH degree, and that's the end. But you have to keep learning. We have to skill, and we have to keep skilling. We have to keep learning new skills. We have to care for the patient. So we have to continue keeping caring. So I may be at the peak of my career, but it doesn't mean that I don't go to the patient and see how the patient is. So that is a sort of thing you just can't escape. You may have fellows, you may have staff under you, but still you would be responsible. So we have to keep caring. We have to teach. So we have to pass on the ever-increasing base of learning, skilling, and caring. And then we have to expand the base. So we have to pass the base. Not only that, but we have to expand the base, which means we reflect, we research, and innovate. So that's also one facet of surgery. Now, with so many facets, there's always a possibility of changing roles in surgery. Okay, so one can move, as I mentioned, from being an active surgeon to be a researcher or an innovator or whatever, So there can be changing scope for surgery. So how do you lay the foundations, I call it the 3 Ds. That is discipline, dedication and devotion, and determination. These 3 things are required. Without this, you cannot lay a foundation. The foundation would be insecure. Now, discipline. It's very, very important. No achievement is possible without discipline. Some sort of discipline is required. You see all the sports people, all the movie stars, everyone following a certain discipline. And I learned this very early in my life, as was mentioned. So my dad made sure, that I was disciplined, and I can give you some examples. As an anesthetist, he was keen that I accompany him to the hospital on Thursdays. Thursday was the only school holiday we had, and he said, Thursday you must come with me, and you must see what is happening in hospitals and come along. Primarily the reason was, as I probably think sometimes, I'm not sure, that he wanted me to keep away from bad influences and bad practices, So he used to take me with him on that particular holiday which I had, And I was barely 5 years old, 5 or 6 years old, and I would go to the hospital with him. He was an anesthesiologist, so we would be in the operation theatre. He would tell the technician to set up a stool for me. A stool would be set up for me, and I would be standing there, till the surgeries were over, come down for a short break and go and stand there and watch the surgery, So that was the discipline which was inculcated. One can call it cruelty in today's parlance, but I don't think so. But that was not the end of it, When we finished the surgeries, I would come home and I said, like evening at least I'll get to play now. This is holiday for me, And then he would say, we have that scooter. Last week we didn't get time to do anything for it. Come, let's go and clean it, So we had to go and clean the scooter. We had to go and clean the car. And then if the surgeries would end in the afternoon on that day, he would say, okay, I'm dismantling the scooter, this carburetor. So we take out the carburetor and we put petrol and we clean all that. The spark plug had to be cleaned. Everything had to be done, The same way with the car, So he was also a mechanic at heart, He would take off everything and put it back again, So that was the discipline I imbibed as a 5-6-year-old child. So that was a very disciplined life. Maybe with my children, my son is sitting here, it's been very different. Having gone through that phase, I said that childhood, let them flower the way they want, But I would tell them that this is very, very important in retrospect. If I didn't follow a disciplined life, it would not be possible to reach wherever I am. The next was dedication and devotion. Dedication is like you do something, you are devoted to it. Devotion adds a spiritual element to it. Devotion is with love and joy. Dedication says, okay, I want to do this task and I will be at it till this task is completed. That is dedication. But I'm doing it out of love and joy, that is devotion, So I'm devoted to that task because I get love, I get joy when I do it, So that's devotion. Now, Dr. Bhandari asked me about that example of my music teacher, So as a school kid, I was learning music, like we're learning many things, so learning music, Indian classical music, And to my good fortune or bad fortune, I did very well in the exams. Got an All India rank in the, we had that Bhatkande Institute exams. So my music teacher told me, no, you must do still better. You have the potential to do better. I said, very good. If I have the potential to do better, I should do it, So he said, I will train you further. So I said, fine, train me further. No, but I am not going to do it, You should do riyaz. I said, how should you do riyaz? I didn't understand the word riyaz, How should you do riyaz? Okay, I'll do one thing. I will train you for riyaz, So I will teach you how to do riyaz. I said, fine, you come and teach me how to do riyaz. He said, no, I'm not going to come and teach you, You have to come and fetch me. You have to come and wake me up, because riyaz is done early in the morning, 4:30 or 5 o'clock, So you have to come and fetch me and I will come to your place and then we will do riyaz together. So again, I was in school, maybe 12, 13 years old, and I said, okay, I want to do riyaz. He said, okay, come to my place, be there at 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. So I would get up at about 3 a.m. and 3:30 I would leave the house, walk down 15-20 minute walk to make sure that I'm there at 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock I would go and press his bell and he would take time, he would get up, finally then said, okay, you sit here, I'm going to get ready and then I'll come with you. So he would get ready, 4:40, 4:45 he would be ready and then we'll come home, 15-20 minutes for the walk again and then 5 o'clock our riyaz would start, And 5 to 6:30 was riyaz time. 6:30 was breakfast together, and 7 o'clock get ready to go to school and do whatever homework or whatever you had to do, before you left for school, So that was the importance. The way he taught me was, no, you're not going to get it on a platter, You better work for it. If you want to achieve something, you better work for it. And these were very deep and very powerful lessons, which came to me indirectly. So discipline, dedication, devotion, and determination on earth to achieve anything. You can have discipline, you can have dedication, devotion, but you also need a determination, So that has to last. You have to keep at it, And if you don't persevere, and if you say, it's okay, now I'm going to leave this, I'm fed up of this, you won't achieve it, So that third D, which is determination, I think is very, very important. So discipline, dedication, devotion, determination. So no achievement is possible without discipline. As I mentioned, you can look around whether in the field of sports, media, or music. So sports people, they have to train so much. This media people, they have to maintain their figure or whatever. And they have to restrict themselves on eating so much. Musicians have to do so much of practice. So dedication is a commitment. Devotion gives it a spiritual element. It is filled with love and joy, and then you call it devotion. And determination makes achievement possible in practical terms. Now, another thing is development. How do you develop? This is very, very important. It's not that surgery is only surgical skills. So you can have a unidirectional versus multidirectional development. Unidirectional means you develop in surgical skills, and that is it. Multidirectional could mean other things like reading, writing, speaking, leadership, and reflection. So it's not only that you're a great surgeon, but you're a writer, you are a communicator, you are an articulate communicator, you are a leader in your field, and you are the one who can analyze and reflect on things. This is very, very, very important. Other three things, again, which came about, in laying strong foundation are the ease, excellence. There is no substitute for hard work. Why people have to work hard, You may be brilliant, but brilliant doesn't work very well in medicine because you have to be consistent. You have to be consistently performing, and that is why hard work is there. It's not brilliance, Surgical skills have to be developed, and you have to reflect on how to improve, your outcomes. Then empathy and ethics was mentioned already. Equanimity of mind, and having a mind at peace to accept whatever comes your way, I mean, you can keep fighting, you can be disappointed, but we are human beings, we can be disappointed, but it should be a very brief disappointment, and then you continue with your job, whatever it may be. So Aristotle long ago said, excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution, So very, very important for all of us, It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny, So what choices you have made will determine, Now this is also important for your early career phase. So you have the knowledge, you have the comprehension, surgical skills or clinical skills, you apply your knowledge, and that application process and analysis. Most important is reflecting on what you have achieved, what happened, when you did a particular thing. You have to reflect and you have to change your modalities based on that. So reflection becomes very, very important. So professional excellence, what is it, Is it overall excellence, patient interaction, patient outcomes, care, surgery, etc.? Everything matters here. You have to be a specialist by inclination, but a generalist at heart, At heart, you have to look into the patient as a whole, though you may be a specialist, And quality and comfort are the greatest ingredients a patient is looking for, What they look for is quality and comfort, Now, just what is the sort of clientele you should be catering to? Is it the high-end clientele, which are few in number? They can afford anything you want them to afford, but they have a lot of idiosyncrasies, The idiosyncrasies are great, and they have low scientific merit, Most of their problems are like, at least in orthopedic terms, like maybe flat foot or some pain here and there or whatever, but the scientific merit there is low, When you go down to the base of the pyramid, the advantage is numbers, The low paying capacity, the poorer patient, they have low paying capacity, but the numbers are high, the volume is very high, and they have high scientific merit, because the spectrum is very, very different. And in the middle is the middle class, lesser numbers, but more affordable than the poorer population, So this is something from the practice point of view. Now, early in your career, mentors are also important to you, because being mentored is a gift, So it is not just what they tell you, it is, you can follow their examples in certain ways, in certain areas, you can follow their examples, As actions, behavior and examples teach even more than words. Well, I have been blessed because I had wonderful mentors, and this was when I joined orthopedics. The mentor took so good care of me, it just spontaneously came from me. And I wrote, you, the vast ocean of which I drank, appear vaster with every drop I drink. This was in 1979. I think that's my mentor on the left for my initial orthopedic training. And then when I was doing fellowships in Japan, they are my mentors whom I visited years later again. But there are many, many forms of mentorships, and you may go on short-term training, as is the fellowship program with Vattikuti. Cottrell and Dubuque are famous for the innovation, which is today the standard in all over the world, is the CD instrumentation for back surgery. It's the multi-directional correction of the deformed spine. So Cottrell and Dubuque, with whom I worked, and with other people who have been liberal in sort of giving me their thoughts, and showing me how they have done things. After your early phase, which is most important, I think, you come to the mid-surgical career, and here you build on the foundations, and that is the creation of a superstructure, Now, what superstructure you will create? Different people have different ambitions, Some want to create a hospital, an institution, large institution. Some wants to create a great department, Well, first thing is growth as a person. As a person, you have to grow in knowledge terms, in skills, stature, reinvent yourself, and always have that pioneer spirit, to go outside your comfort zone for something which is new, So that is the growth as a person. Then the role of professional bodies and leadership, I briefly touch on that. Now, collaboration is very, very important, and collaboration is something we have to keep in mind, because we all work in our own silos, but I have realized that collaboration is very, very important for your future, and this is a strength-based approach, which means that, okay, there is something I can do, there is something you can do. I'll come to this here. You can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do, but together we can do great things, and this is called teamwork, So this is a very, very important lesson. I think this should be inculcated right at the beginning, not necessarily at the mid-career level, but then this is working as a team, As a team, you work to achieve great things, Then the changes which happen around you, you adapt to those changes, So this sort of changing grid, So you first deny those changes, you resist it, then you're keen to explore it, and then you commit or accept those changes, This sort of change grid, based on the past and based on the future. Past on the left, the future on the right. Well, this is important for us. We start, we grow, then we reach a plateau. But before you reach a plateau, you have to restart and find a new direction for growth. And when you do that, your plateau is longer. I hope you are able to get the importance of this particular slide. Start, grow. Before you reach the plateau, where you are on the plateau, you can restart and you can grow again. So you can take a different direction and grow. Now, I mentioned about the pioneer spirit. Well, one does not discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore for a very long time. So this is the pioneer spirit. Exploration of something new means you have to go from certainties to uncertainty. You have to go from your comfort zone to a zone which is not in your comfort, which is something new for you. For example, robotic surgery. Maybe from conventional urology, you go into robotic urology. urologic surgery, well, that's the pioneer spirit, you know. You're going into something which is not your comfort zone. You're going into something which you are going to develop in the future. Now, your late surgical career, very briefly, it is reaping all that you have sown, you know. So your early career, your mid-career, now you're reaping the fruits of all that you have sown. Largely, this is a phase for mentoring and gardening, you know. So mentoring means bringing up your juniors, you know, to that level which you have reached, or guiding them if they want your guidance. You know. So mentoring and gardening, teaching and research, okay, this is another phase. And then, of course, if you want to retire, retire gracefully, you know. So when you are in your late surgical career, time is short. Okay. Before that, you've been very ambitious, you've been very competitive, you have a very high sense of self-importance, you know. What happens when you go into the late surgical career? Well, everything, your ego is replaced by a sense of humility. For some, it may happen early. For some, it may happen late. For some, it may not happen, you know. But your ego is replaced by a sense of humility and reflection. So what have I done in a lifetime, you know? What will I leave behind? And what lessons can I give to those who are following me on the path, you know? A change of perspective is inevitable with age. So we all start out as technocrats, you know. We talk about surgery, surgical technique, you know, doing the best surgery. We want to become the best clinician, best researchers, you know. And then as we mature, you know, we say, okay, like I was asked, what about 500 and 550 surgeries? How does it matter, you know? So our thoughts turn to better systems and processes as we ripen. And then from smaller domains, that is departments, hospitals, associations, we expand to the country and the international arena. You know, we want to give back because we have the potential to do so much good. You know, we want to give back now. We have the potential to do good by using our knowledge and vision. So touching on orthopedics, you know, I call it the passing the torch. This is a story of orthopedics. It's the art and science of orthopedics enriched by the experience and research of our generation. So there was a quantum of knowledge when we were postgraduates. The quantum has changed, and now we pass on that quantum. The current quantum is going to change further, and we are passing on the torch, you know. So we are the torch bearers, and we have to be humble because we are always standing on the shoulder of giants. Passing on the torch is important, for that is what will keep the flame alive. So we have to become mentor, you know. You can mentor even in your middle phase, you can mentor even in a late phase, but become a mentor. It's a wonderful experience, rich in its own rewards, you know. For one thing, I mean, the question of academics and mentorship, why should you do it, you know? It does you good, you know. It clarifies your thought. It gives your thoughts a direction, you know. And that's why all this is very, very important, you know. Besides the fact that, okay, you have people who are all around you, you know, they all, my mentees, you know, we came together in a conference and they said, come on, let's all get together and have a picture, you know. So we do touch lives in different ways, and well, you can sort of be blessed to have teachers like this. So to my eternal teacher, a happy Teacher's Day, you know. I want to leave you with these passing thoughts. What is the true measure of a surgical career? Is it the number of patients you have dealt with? Is it your practice, the volume of your practice? Is it the publications? Is it the number of mentees? Or is it the social impact or impact on the lives of people, you know? If we have a yardstick of measuring, okay, somebody can say I have 500 publications and another says I'm 1,000 publications. So am I better because I have 1,000 publications? Not really, you know. I think for me, for everyone, it will be different. For me, the social impact and the impact on the lives of people is the most important measure of the success of a surgeon, you know. Again, I'll touch this point a little later. Lastly, the world of dreams. Another D here. It is not true that people stop pursuing dreams because they grow old. They grow old because they stop pursuing dreams, you know. So even though you may become old, you can still pursue dreams, you know. Physically old, but mentally you're young. Okay, but when you stop pursuing dreams, you're sure to become ripe and old, you know. I'll touch briefly on another 2-3 minutes on my own story. This is India. And for your knowledge, India has 500 million children. It is the highest number of children in the world, and 26 million are born every year. More than many countries' population, Every year we are adding to that pool, And that is why the question was asked to me about pediatric orthopedics, So I was interested in orthopedics. I did want to become an orthopedic surgeon, and I loved children. And I thought, what could be better, than mixing the two, and becoming a pediatric orthopedic surgeon. At that time, there was only general orthopedics which was being practiced. And when I asked my mentors, I want to do pediatric orthopedics, should I be pursuing it? I was told, you are a fool, You do it and you're going to starve, Every one of us does pediatric orthopedics. We are general orthopedic surgeons. We do pediatric orthopedics. But I said, no, I was determined. The third D comes in, I was determined, no, I want to do pediatric orthopedics, And within 5 years, they said, we just don't see children in our OPD. What has happened, Well, the children came to know that there is a children's specialist, surgeon, orthopedic surgeon. They said, we don't want to go to the adult surgeon, We want to go to the pediatric orthopedic surgeon. And that's how the whole transformation happened, So 1994, long ago, when I was very, very young, it's 30 years now nearly, we started with the Pediatric Orthopaedic Society of India, for which I was the prime mover, and this Professor Chako from Manipal, who was interested in pediatrics, he was the first president. I was the founder secretary, and we started this society. We felt that this was needed because we have 500 million children, but no sort of specialization. Most of them were neglected, we can't do anything for it, please go ahead, go somewhere else, This was the scenario, So we said, we must pursue it, we must do it, Now this is a challenging and difficult field, because of so many congenital problems and other problems and late presentation, in India especially, neglect, poverty, inadequate resources, But one thing I would always stress is that we can prevent many of these problems, these late presenting problems, by early detection. We are working hard on it, It's difficult to change that scenario. We are working very hard on it. It's my plea that we should be prevention specialists rather than surgeons who cut. Pediatric orthopedic surgery is destined to the practice of pediatrics. For example, when rickets was rampant, malnutrition was rampant, scurvy was rampant, deformities flourished. The moment the society came up to a better level, and these things disappeared, deformities have disappeared. So these are acquired deformities which are preventable. So sort of destined to the practice of pediatrics. Better the practice of pediatrics, less will be the amount of pediatric orthopedic surgery. And I would quote Philip Wiles, a famous surgeon from England. It's here he says, 1952, however important surgery may be now, it should be the aim of all doctors, including surgeons, to limit and ultimately abolish it. Maybe abolishing surgery is a pipe dream, but definitely we can limit it if we are really conscious of it, we can limit it. In the ending, my friends, excellence is a never-ending journey. We have to keep walking, leaving behind footprints on the sands of time. And life has to have significance. Life has to have meaning. If there is no meaning, there is no life really. So we have to be better at what we are doing. And of course, this is quoted from the Gita. See the flower, how generously it distributes perfume and honey. When its work is done, it falls away quietly. Try to be like the flower, unassuming despite all its qualities. The last, for all of you, what is the future soon becomes the present. What is the present soon becomes the past. The present is the bridge connecting the past and the future. Let us work today, for this is the present, the creator of the past and the future. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope I have given some reflections of a surgical life. Actually, it's about 44 years now that I've been in surgery, but I've been in surgery as a child, from the age of 5. So it's been a very, very long time. That way I can claim to be more than 60 years in surgery. But this is something I want to give you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are indeed honored to hear your pearls of wisdom. Since we are all talking about specialty, two things I would like to say. It's not good manners to speak something after the speaker has spoken. Often we talk of scaling depth, specialty, pediatric oncology, urology, and then you become, like in the United States, the prostate surgeon doesn't know anything about kidney. If we want to practice the kind of urology we practice here, I'll have to take you to 20 places and 20 people. So I think the specialization is to be taken in right context, and I researched on this subject because I wrote, when I won the first Sitaram Memorial Essay competition, then I put there, and what I said was specialty doesn't mean scaling depth, ignoring breadth. No PhD in any honco branch of chemistry can afford to say that no, he need not know the chemistry. Specialist is supposed to keep the breadth in mind and then scale the depth. So I think they would never take it in that context. We have divided the body according to our convenience, but God has not made the body. Still, liver and lungs are neighbors, or spleen and liver are neighbors. So that's what I would like to say. Thank you, Dr. Johari.